most money on property, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. So, before I send you off to break, I ask you to sit down and really get passionate and start to think about your reason why you want to become financially free, the reason why you want to do it with property. Can I just ask, is there anybody in the room who would be willing to share their reason why with the rest of the room? Okay, so a hand went up very, very quickly at the very back of the room. Your name?
Deborah.
Deborah. So, nice and loud, tell us what your reason why is.
Okay. This is to practice this medical term. My daughter has Mayer-Rokitansky-Kuster-Hauser syndrome. Okay?
Otherwise known as?
Or otherwise known as she was born without a womb. So, basically, she's getting married very shortly and she wants to have children, but she wants to have it by surrogacy. And that costs £30,000. So, I know that she's not money, but I know that I have the potential to get that money. And that's what I want to be able to say when the time's right. Here's the money.
Give Deborah a massive round. Anybody else wanting to share their why with us? Again, we've got another lady that your hand went up very quickly. It's Rachel.
Yeah, so my main motivation is because I turned 50 this year and I realised that my pension is not very good and we're having to work longer and longer to get pensions and I didn't want to become 70 and before being old age and property. I just don't want that. So that was my main motivation.
Brilliant. Thank you. Give her a round of applause. Anybody else share that why with Rachel about your pensions? Is there anyone else willing to share their why? Yes, we've got the chap at the back there. Your hand went up really quickly. Sorry, I can't see your name.
It's Shamir.
Shamir, tell us what your reason why is, Shamir.
I feel like I just want to look after my family and friends and like go back to my home country, Nigeria. And I made a promise to my family that I'd really develop a village and I want to keep that promise.
Brilliant, brilliant. For those who didn't hear Shamir from the back of the room, Shamir, he's made a promise that was it your grandmother?
Yeah.
That he would go back to the village in Nigeria and look after people in that village, okay? So for you, it's about looking after other people, yeah? And looking after your friends and your family. Fantastic. Give him a round of applause. How many of us know family members who are hopeless with money and they're always, you'd love to help those people out, wouldn't you, yeah? And then, to a certain extent, it's selfish because it gets those problems off your plate, doesn't it? Anyone else want to share with us? No? Oh, yeah, Matt?
Mine seems a bit more selfish now, but I basically love to travel, so I'd like to be able to travel financially free, staying in nice places instead of the hostels like before.
Okay, brilliant. Who else would like to travel around the world? Raise your hands. Look around the room, Matt. You know, this is something such. I don't know about you guys, but I don't use social media all that much. But there's a brilliant, what you would call it, but on Facebook, there's this thing called Wonderful Places, and it keeps popping up on my newsfeed all the time. There's amazing places around the world. It blows my mind how many places I want to go. Okay, great. So we'll move on. Thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your why with us. And I hope you're really passionate and you really want to make it happen. If it's an 8, a 9, or a 10 out of 10, it's so much more likely to happen. If it's really low down there, you know, the saddest thing for me is when I do these events and then I wonder 6 months later, some of these people going back to just settling for a life that is less than they deserve. When you actually realise all you need to do is commit to mastery and learn this stuff, and that will get you to financial freedom. In this particular session, what I want to do is share with you those top strategies that make people financially free. And I want to help you get really decisive in this session as well. Remember what I said earlier on? I said that quotation from Anthony Robbins. It was, in your moments of decision, your destiny is shaped. It's in your moments of decision, your destiny is shaped. That amazing man says one more thing about decisions that I love. And it's this. You might want to write this one down as well, because for me this is one of the most powerful things he's ever said, and it really changed my life. Never leave the scene of a decision without taking massive action. Never leave the scene of a decision without taking massive action. So if you've decided today to commit to your mastery, take massive action afterwards. There's no reason for you not to get started now. And this afternoon, after lunch as well, I'm going to show you what it's going to cost you if you don't get started now. My own bitter experience, it's a lot of money. Okay, so getting decisive is really, really important, but I also want to get you really focused as well in this session. Because I could see earlier on by show of hands that a lot of us get a lot of information from people like Property Insight, My Property Network, Simon Zushi's crew, Progressive, all of those. Raise your hands if you get lots of emails and information from all of us. Okay. Now we're going to keep doing that, sending you out those emails until we find out what suits you and what fits with you. Because I hate this property industry that says one size fits all. It doesn't. It's got to be personal. If you set your portfolio up wrong, then you're going to regret it when you get there later on, because it won't give you the results that you want later on. Don't forget, it's not just about how much money you make. It's about how much time you have too. So in this session, I want to get you decisive by not just looking at those strategies, but also getting you to understand what will resonate with you as a person with those particular strategies, based on your why, based on the destination, and based on your personality as well. You see, the thing is, if we get really, really focused about this from today, then it's going to save you time, it's going to save you money, it's going to save you stress, energy, and effort. Every single one of those 50 people that chose those strategies, they only used one strategy to get them from wherever they were in their life that they were trying to get away from to financial freedom. One strategy as the vehicle. Now, I'm not suggesting that when you become financially free, you stick with one strategy. You might say, now I'm financially free, I'm going to try multiple strategies. Aaron has done that, but he only used one strategy to get into financial freedom. So we want to pick the one that will get you there, and then once you're there, there's other strategies that you can use. Does that make sense, yes or no?
Yes.
Because if you get really, really focused, you're going to get really good at that one strategy. You're going to master that one strategy, rather than, it drives me to lally when I hear people saying, well, I'm going to try this, and this. Crazy to do that. How good are you going to get at 5 strategies when you have to learn all this stuff just from one? It's just not going to happen. So we just want to get that one strategy. I'm hammering that home one time. But think about it. You look at somebody like David Beckham. David Beckham got outstanding at football, not by doing netball on Monday, cricket on Tuesday, snooker on Wednesday, football on Thursday, and cricket on Friday. It's football, 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 football. With that guy, it was free kick, free kick, free kick, People are rewarded in public for what they repeatedly practice in private. David Beckham probably took thousands, hundreds of thousands of free kicks that went over the bar and to the left and to the right before he actually perfected the art of getting the ball in the top left-hand corner. Same with Cristiano Ronaldo. This is how you get brilliant at something, how you master it. You get focused on it and you get really good at that one thing. And then once you're at financial freedom, hey, the world is your oyster. Do what you want. And the other thing as well is if you get really focused on this stuff, when we send out those emails to you, us and all the other teams out there as well that are looking to help you with property investing, then what you'll see is all these emails that are coming through. So let's say, for example, you choose houses of multiple occupancy, HMOs, as the strategy that you're going to use to get into financial freedom. Every email that comes in that's nothing to do with HMOs, just delete it. And just save those HMO emails for later, or when you've got time, to, because you're getting focused on it. Does that make sense, yes or no?
Yes.
And also, raise your hands if sometimes you go to these property networking events like PIN. Not many of you, okay, well, a few of you. Simon Zushi's crew, they do these property networking events. There's some other networking events as well for property. Now, sometimes you have to cross town to go to these events, and usually there's an expert talking about their particular strategy. If it's an expert talking about a strategy that you haven't picked, save yourself the time, effort, energy, and money. Just don't go. Because what we're going to look at in a minute is there's going to have to be time put in to your property investing. Okay? Absolutely, there's going to have to be time put into it. I talked earlier on about joint ventures, and I want to talk to you a little bit about joint ventures before we move on, because this whole thing about time and money is really important. There are 3 things that need to be at the table with every single joint venture. Remember what I said, each of those 50 people, they use joint venturing along the way to get them to their destination much quicker. I'll tell you what those 3 things are. This is what I call the triad. So, you're going to buy a property. What's the first thing that absolutely needs to be on the table if you're going to buy a property? Money! You've got to have money. But you've also got to have the time. The time needs to be put into it as well. And the last thing that needs to be put into it is experience, or expertise if you prefer, or knowledge, or know-how. Remember what I said about Aaron? When he first started investing in property, where do you think he was out of 10 on the money scale? Well, at least, yeah, probably 1 out of 10. Give him 1 for his £2,000 in 6 months, shall we? But he had plenty of time. Yeah? When you're only earning £2,000 in 6 months, you've got plenty of time. So he was about 9 out of 10 on time. So he needed to find someone, a partner, who had the money but didn't have the time to invest. And he did. His joint venture partner was doing really well in his job. He was earning really good money. He had money in the bank. He had money in his own property. So he had equity in his property. But the money in his bank, no surprise, earning next to nothing. Money in his property, earning him nothing. So he didn't have the money. Sorry, he had the money, but he didn't have the time. Okay? So these 2 guys got together, Aaron with the time, him with the money, and now all of a sudden they're 9 out of 10 on money and they're 9 out of 10 on time. Where were they? Remember what I said about the first 10 properties, by the way? Where do you think they were on experience? 1. They did not know what they were doing. If they had known what they were doing, they would not have made all those cock-ups with those 10 properties in the first place. I'm going to show you a little bit more about what to do this afternoon. You will understand that. So important. No commitment to mastery. If you don't know what you're doing, you will fall over. Because they didn't know what they were doing. So these are the 3 things that absolutely need to be at the table with every single property investment. Now, if you went for you to be 9 out of 10 on time, 9 out of 10 on money, and 9 out of 10 on experience, you're going to waste all that time. Start now. And the point about joint venturing is, it's the rocket fuel, the jet propulsion, the turbocharger that gets you to your financial freedom as quickly as you possibly can. I'm going to give you a live example, a personal example from me. My daughter Chloe. So she read Rich Dad Poor Dad at a very young age, as you might imagine, and also the Cash Flow Quadrant, which was the follow-up book. Anyone read Robert Kiyosaki's Cash Flow Quadrant? Is that a good book, yes or no? Brilliant book, guys. Write it down. The Cash Flow Quadrant by the same guy I mentioned earlier on, Robert Kiyosaki. Fantastic book. And it changed my daughter's mindset about what she wanted to do with her life. Unfortunately, she'd already committed to go to university, so she comes out of university with a mortgage but no house. Just like all students do. £40,000 debt, no home. But that was her choice. She wanted to do that. I know that there are people in this room who do not have the money to get started on the property investment journey. It doesn't matter. As long as you have the experience and you get yourself the 9 or 10 out of 10 on all of those 10 areas, you will attract the money. Because we taught, Chloe came to Property Mentorship Academy in February, and we taught her how to joint venture, and we taught her how to put together a plan, and to date she has attracted £250,000 of joint venture funding for her property portfolio. And none of that has come from me. I wanted her to do it for herself. Okay? So you get, if you're the person that is, you've got no money, you definitely need to be 9 out of 10 on experience. Definitely, because you will attract the money to you. But there are people in this room who have got great incomes and they want to get started on property investment, but they don't have the time. So the joint venture is that rocket fuel, the jet propulsion. And we'll teach you how to do it with a system, with a process, with legal charges that protect both parties. Remember what I said, joint venture is about win-win, no win-lose. Would it be valuable to you if we taught you how to raise £100,000 for any deal you ever wanted? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, raise your hands if you'd like to learn how to do it. Property Mentorship Academy, we teach you that stuff, inside out, upside down. And it's so, so valuable to every single one of you. So, there's another thing that I need to get you decisive about right here and right now, and that is about the time element that you are going to put in to building your property portfolio. Let's take the money to one side for the moment. I don't know what your financial situation is. If you're struggling to find a mortgage, if you need to refinance, this is something we can help you with. I don't know where you're at with your property investing at this moment in time. But let's talk about the time for a minute. Really, really important, because there's no doubt that every single one of you is going to need to put some time into this. Critical. So we're going to be talking about the simple selection system in a moment, but the first decision that I want you to get to make is about how much time you're going to be putting into growing your portfolio. So, I'll try my jacket on for size, okay? I'm going to give you a definition. Remember I said earlier on, Aaron spends less than 45 minutes a week on his property portfolio. What I want to know is, for the next 6 months after today, just for the next 6 months, don't think about the rest of your life, but just for the next 6 months, how much time do you think you're going to be able to commit to building your portfolio to get you to financial freedom? Okay? Now, I've done it on a sliding scale like this, but what I want to say is, if you are going to do more than 3 hours a week to get your property portfolio going, if it's more than 3 hours a week that you can spend on it, then I want you to say that you've got a property job. Okay? If it's less than 3 hours a week, then I want you to say that you're going to be a property investor. So I want to get this committed decision from you right here and right now as to what you're going to do over the next 6 months. So write this down. My first committed decision, use the word committed, my first committed decision is for the next 6 months. My first committed decision is for the next 6 months, I will have a property job or I will be a property investor. So if it's going to be more than 3 hours a week, it's a property job. If it's going to be less than 3 hours a week, you're going to be a property investor. And don't forget, it's just from today for the next 6 months. And that may also include the learning that you need to put into it as well. It's everything. It's something to do with your portfolio that's not to do with the rest of your life. Does that make sense, yes or no? Yeah. Is there anybody in the room who's struggling to make that decision? Raise your hand if there is. Okay, so your name? Julia. So explain to me what's going on with what difficulties you have in making the decision.
So, if I've got less than 3 hours a week, or more than 3 hours a week to...
Yeah, it's really what you're prepared to commit to for the next 6 months. Obviously, you know your circumstances in your life, so you know what else you have to do. Really, what I want you to do is to make a decision as to how much time each week you're going to be putting in. Is it going to be more than 3 hours, or is it going to be less than 3 hours? What is it going to be? A bit less than 3 hours. Okay? What is a bit less than 3 hours? 2 hours. So your commitment is that you're going to put 2 hours a week in for the next 6 months. Is that right? So you're going to be a property investor. Is there anybody else struggling to make this decision at all? Everything. Everything to do with building your property portfolio. That's the research, everything else. A week. Per week, how much time are you going to invest in it?
Unfortunately, there's that.
So are you actually doing this now? Yeah. So for the next 6 months, how much time are you going to invest every week?
I think more than 5 hours.
More than 5 hours?
Around 5.
Around 5 hours. Now, listen, I'm speaking to Joseph, but I'm also speaking to you guys as well. Remember I said it wants to be a committed decision. So when we're talking, when the language that you're using, I want you just to make a commitment on exactly how many hours you're going to do. So you say around, is it going to be exactly 5?
Yes, it's going to be 5. And that's why I was asking for clarification, because if I'm spending time to do research to understand where I'm going, but ideally I want to be an investor.
Yes.
But I need to learn and understand.
Yes.
So that's what the insurance.
Yes, I understand. But right now, for the next 6 months, I can see that you're getting pretty close to a very committed decision of 5 hours a week. Is that correct? Look me in the eyes. Is it going to be 5 hours a week? Is it definitely?
Yes.
Right, I want 4 volunteers. Raise your hands, please. 4 volunteers. I've got Matt, I've got Israel, I've got Chris, and I've got Verona. Okay. By the way, you see all the hands that went up when I said, I want volunteers? These guys have got no idea what they volunteer for, have they? These are the guys I want in my property team. You say volunteers, they say, yeah, we're going! And you know, I think some of you were also the ones that would go over the thing for less than a tenner, right? Instead of paying me to go over. So Matt, you're going to be number 1. Israel number 2, Chris number 3, Verona number 4. And what I want you to do, by the way, do you know each other? Yeah, but you never met before today. Fantastic, good, I'm pleased. Because you're going to be Joseph's accountability partners. You're going to get his telephone number in the next break, okay? Week 1, you're going to phone him up, and you're going to say, Joseph, if you've done 5 hours on your property business this week, if he says no, you say that's not good enough, do better next week, and put the phone down, okay? You're going to do it week 2, you're going to do it week 3, you're going to do it week 4, and you're going to do it week 5, and you're going to keep doing it to hold him to account to get 5 hours a week on his property portfolio. Yeah? So important. Accountability partners, I can't stress how important they are. And it's not good enough to have somebody that you already know to be your accountability partner. Why? Because they're going to be friends or family already. And let me tell you the challenge with getting friends and family to be your accountability partners. Raise your hands if you've got nice friends and family. Nice. That's interesting. Some of you need to get out of more. Normally everybody's hand goes up. Yeah, all my friends and family are nice. Yeah. Some of you need to get some new friends and family. Let me explain what nice is. Nice is a 4-letter word. We don't like 4-letter words. Nice. Nice stands for nothing inside me cares enough. Nothing inside me cares enough. You see, the challenge with friends and family is something that I refer to as ugly baby syndrome. Let me explain another personal thing, and I'm going to use the same example of my lovely daughter, 21-year-old Chloe. I can say this to you now because if you saw Chloe, you would say she is a good-looking girl. She's beautiful. But when she was born, ladies and gentlemen, she was 12 pounds 13. She had no neck! She had no neck and a pointy head. However, the guys in the room who are fathers will know exactly what I'm saying, which is when you see your firstborn child, it doesn't matter what they look like, your heart melts. They are the most beautiful thing you have ever seen in your life. So of course I'm taking Chloe around to see friends and family, actually more like that, to see friends and family after she's been born, and they're all saying to me, oh, isn't she lovely, isn't she pretty, oh, she's beautiful, doesn't she look like her dad? I'm like, oh, that's great. The challenge was, about 6 or 7 months ago, Chloe came to me with a photograph of me and her when she was a baby. And she gave me this photograph. She said, Dad, be really honest with me now, okay? I was an ugly baby, wasn't I? And I looked at that, and I looked at her, and I said, yes, you were. But I didn't realise it at the time. But then I was thinking back to all those people that said, oh, she looks like her dad. I'm thinking, great! Ugly baby syndrome! What were they saying when I left the room? Oh my God, did you see that thing? Look like E.T. Yeah, this is what true or not true? It's true. Sometimes babies are not all that good looking, are they, when they're first born? Now this is the challenge, you see. They just wanted, friends and family will tell us what we want to hear. What we're looking for is accountability partners who care enough to tell you how it is. Get on with it. You've not done it's not good enough. Put the phone down. On the other hand, if you've done 5 hours, that's great. Joseph, that's great. Do it again next week. Cold, hard accountability partner. You see, you are far more likely to give yourself a let off and let yourself down than you are somebody else. Oh my gosh, Joseph says, I've got Matt phoning me on Monday. I better get my 5 hours in on Sunday. And by the way, leaving it to the last minute, not acceptable. Let me explain. Raise your hand in the room if you have a job. If you work for somebody else, you have to turn up at a certain time and leave at a certain time. Raise your hands. Right. You're working hard for money. You're making somebody else money in that job where you have to turn up at 9 and finish at 5. It's for them, and it's just to pay the bills, really. Job, for me, stands for just over broke. But here's the thing. Why would you give yourself any less chance of success in your property job than you would in the job when you are making somebody else money? Does that make sense, yes or no?
Yes.
So schedule it in your diaries. If you're doing 5 hours, is it an hour a day? Is it 5 hours all on a Saturday? Is it 5 hours all on a Sunday? What is it? Schedule it and lock it in the diary as if it was a job where you had to turn up, because if you didn't get paid. Later on, I'm going to show you something that's going to shift your mindset on how valuable that time is. I promise you. And for a lot of you, it's going to change your life. But it's so, so important to lock it in your diary. Joseph, a friend phones you up and says, while you're doing your property job, during the time you've locked it in your diary, a friend phones you up and says, Joseph, we're going down the pub. We'd like you to come. Are you going to come? And you say, guys, I'd love to come down the pub, but actually I'm doing my property job right now. Your property job, Joseph? What are you talking about? Come down the pub. No, I'm doing a property job right now. Do you want to get involved? No, I don't. I want to go to the pub. Right, I need to get some new friends. Serious stuff, this. Lock it in your diary. Whatever you have committed to, when you've written down for the next 6 months, make sure you lock it in the diary, because I promise you this, it's never going to happen if you don't, because life will just get in the way and make excuses. How many dabblers do we see in the first couple of weeks in January in the gym? Now, it's not locked in the diary. It's just, oh, I think I'm going to get fit and lose a little weight. And it just accountability partners. The people that achieve the most success at the gym, guess what? They're the ones that get themselves a personal trainer. And those people hold their backsides to the wire and go hard on them and make sure they get the results. Again, if that makes sense, just raise your hand and say, aye!
Aye!
Great. Okay, next part of this. This is really, really important. I want you to make a second commitment to yourself, okay? I know we've talked about the next 6 months, but let's fast forward to financial freedom. Okay? Let's get into financial freedom in your head. And I want you to ask yourself this question. How many hours do you want to spend when you're financially free? So the second committed decision, write this down. Remember, it's the same thing, 3 hours or more and it's a job, less than 3 hours and you're an investor. My second committed decision is when I am financially free, the second committed decision is when I am financially free, and now you're going to write the same thing. I will either have a property job or I will be a property investor, one or the other. When I am financially free, I'll have a property job. When I am financially free, I will be a property investor. Right. Raise your hands if you have said that when you're financially free, you will have a property job, i.e. more than 3 hours a week. Raise your hands. See, look around the room, guys. There's not many people there, but these are the people you want in your property too. Because when you get to financial freedom, if they're prepared to do all the work, they could be a great joint venture partner. See, remember what I said about Aaron and the triad? Within 18 months, Aaron's joint venture partner was able to quit his job. And he loved all the property stuff. So he became the job guy, and Aaron became the investor guy. They did a switch, a complete switch. Aaron did not enjoy the property investing stuff, especially all the interaction with tenants, etc., etc. I'll come on to that in a bit. So if you know people who want to have a property job when they are financially free, then there could be a really great JV partner for you. But if you have written down on your piece of paper that when you're financially free you want to be an investor, in other words, spend less than 3 hours a week on it, raise your hands. Look around the room. Most of the people in the room have said they want to be a property investor when they're financially free. In other words, they want to spend less than 3 hours a week on it. Here's the thing. Remember what I said, begin with the end in mind. So if you start off with strategies that are job strategies, guess what you're going to have when you're financially free? A great big job. So when you're thinking about these strategies that I go through, think about what it is you want when you're financially free and pick strategies that will match what you want in the destination. Again, if that makes sense, just raise your hands for me. So just make sure when we go through this, it resonates with you as a person and it's going to give you what you want when you become financially free. Okay. So let's have a look at these strategies. What we call the simple selection system. And as you can see there are not 5, there's actually, well, there's another one coming in here, but there's 5 there. But when I put that in, the first one I'm going to be talking about is family lab. But you'll see there's actually 6 there, not 5. J is joint venture. The reason why J is up there, it's not a strategy on its own, but every single one of those 50 people, including Aaron, has used joint ventures as a way to get them to financial freedom real quick, not having to wait. So in other words, using this triad over here to get them to financial freedom quickly instead of waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about family let, also known as buy-to-let.